Come, you who are weary of the world, with the cares in your heart. Come, you who are lifted by milestones, accomplishments, and celebrations. Come, you who are seeking learning and insight. You who seek growth in heart and spirit and mind. Come, you who are in need today, and you who are prepared to give. You who love the winter weather, and you who would wish it would go away. And you who might have overslept this morning, come. You who join us from living rooms and dens or in this sanctuary, you who love, however you love, who are cisgender and trans and non-binary, from whatever gender or race or background or class or ability, come. Come into this holy hour and welcome. Welcome to worship with the Universalist Unitarian Church in Peoria. I'm the Reverend Jennifer Innis. It is my great joy to serve as the minister with this congregation of people of all ages and at all stages of life. We strive to live into our mission of embracing freedom, loving inclusively, growing in mind, body, or spirit, and doing our part to help heal the world. And part of our practice includes recognizing the threads that connect all of us now and far into the past and into the future. This is the ancestral home of the Peoria people. They aided the European settlers as they came down the Illinois River. We offer our respect and our regard to the ancestors of the Peoria people and to who they are today. For this service today, I want to offer a note about what we're doing. Let me change this a little. So as you were coming in, I hope you were told that you had certain things to take with you. That would be like a piece of paper or a few pieces of paper. Don't be shy about this. And to choose a rock. To choose a rock. You'll have a time to get this in the course of the service if you did not already do so. Rock on, yes. It has been, as I'm going to bet most people know, 2 years since the start of general lockdowns in this country in response to the pandemic. And so we're going to take a moment today to recognize what we have experienced and connect with some elements of that. And it's going to include candle lighting and paper and rocks. We want something to be with us, some physical actions to conduct in this moment as we're gathering together. And if you're joining us online or in the recording, I invite you to do something similar. Maybe have a candle or a light or gather some paper or something solid to hold, even if you don't have a rock, but something solid and weighty to hold with you. That being said, I want to invite us to rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, Gather the Spirit, by Universalist artist Jim Scott. Please rise with me.
Sacred Our opening words this morning are by Katie Kandarian Morris. Here we have come into this sacred space, quieter now with our readiness, hushed voices, hoping, trusting for so many things, for connection, for communion, for inspiration, for information, for healing, for wholeness, for words, for music, for celebration and consolation. Here we have come into this space, bringing all of who we are. Let us be willing, however we are changed.
I want to invite Tim and Bill and Isaac come forward to light the chalice as I offer the words. From the Reverend Scott Taylor. We come with our doubts, worn out and worn down, wanting once again to trust, to believe that hope is not fragile, that division is not as deep as it sometimes seems, and that light, as the flame of our faith, can be a reminder, a redeclaration, a rekindling of trust, that darkness can never shut out the light, that kindness is more powerful than we know, that humility and accountability allow us to change, and together we can most certainly bend the arc of this beautiful universe toward justice. And now we get to hear the story from Amy Popp.
Good morning. Today we're spending time reflecting back on the many challenges of the past 2 years and beginning to chart our path forward as a church family. I hope today's story will help us all just a little as we work towards the future of our beloved community. It's called Listening and Looking. When a fire truck goes, woo, 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 or when an ambulance goes, ew, 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 and when the red lights are flashing, 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 what do? You listen and you look. just like I do. Then I wonder what happened. But first, I listen and look. Today, I brought some props. Here goes. Okay, what did you do? You paid attention. You couldn't help yourself. I was sending out signals, hoping you would see and hear me. And I'm sure that you did. We all send out signals. Not the way I did with actual bells or with flashing lights, but we often do with the sound of our voices or the look in our eyes or the way we act. For example, when we talk louder and louder, even when we say nothing's wrong, we're more than likely a little upset or excited. Or when our eyes get as big as saucers, we're either surprised or frightened or both. And when we begin to act in strange ways, like not behaving well or being really nervous or very quiet, we're sending a signal that something isn't right. And these signals are important. We need to remember how to listen to the silent signals that tell us how others are feeling, especially those silent signals and bells that go off when people are hurting on the inside, as many of us are. Maybe someone wanted something to happen and it didn't. Maybe it was something they lost, or a fight with a friend, or a trip canceled. Just seeing the look on their faces tells us something is wrong, doesn't it? How great it would be if we'd sense this disappointment and let them know we understand. Or maybe someone said something about someone that was unfair, unkind, unloving. And it hurts so much that that person feels like doing nothing but crying inside. If we're listening to their silent signals, we know how bad they feel. Perhaps they don't know how to express it in words, but their feelings show in their actions. Think how good it would be to make them feel good. If we were to say a kind word to them or ask if we could give them a hug. Think of how much better we feel when we know someone understands us and respects our feelings. We all have a way of telling, even without words, how others feel on the inside. Whether those feelings are happy feelings or sadder ones, which are harder to put into words. There are no clanging bells or bright lights, but the signals are there, and we all know them. And thank goodness now we have more of a chance to see them. The question is, are we listening and looking? And do we care enough to ask? May we always give each other the grace and care of listening, looking, and asking. So be it.
And now we sing out our children to go now in peace. And I want to offer, if our children and youth grabbed a rock on the way in, we're going to talk about this later in the service, but I want to give a hint as to what we're doing with this. Think of this rock as, what is it that is always true? What is it that you hold most dear and is always with you? That's part of what we're talking about today. So now let us sing you forth with Go Now in Peace. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love round you everywhere you go. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love around you everywhere you may go. I want to pause for a moment as we're and kind of recognize that this is our second Sunday of like singing again. And we're kind of in a training wheels moment of figuring this out again. So I want to recognize we like the singing, but it's okay if it's going to take a moment to practice and get into full voice. And that's okay. We're just going to keep singing. All right. Me too. Me too. All right. Now is the time for our offering. And I so appreciate the words from my colleague, the Reverend Victoria Weinstein, that every week in our congregation we take up the offering. And it's good to remind ourselves from time to time that the offering is symbolic as well as practical. We know that it is through pledges that we build our budget and fund our yearly programs and the ministries of worship and education and service. We pay the staff and professional leaders and finance the comfort and the beauty of such a space. And we know that we could easily submit those pledge contributions electronically or in check form or cash anytime. Well, you could do it any time of the week. I'll give you a hint. Any day of the week that ends in Y is a great day for giving. There you go. But we pass the plate during worship to make a community expression of thanks for the blessing of abundance, to visibly bring in the harvest at this special hour in our week. Our offering says that the act of giving is as essential to our well-being as anything else we do on Sunday mornings. And so we pass the plate. And what we're going to do is like we did last week, we'll pass the plate during the music for meditation, and then once the plates have gone through will be the chance for folks to come up. You're welcome to come up and light candles as part of our community expression. And so now, I invite the plates to come forward, and then we'll enter into meditation. Ours is a spiritual community in where we find and forge connection. We trust in the strength of mutual support, knowing how it has sustained us day after day, year after year. Today we hold in the light all those who are going through medical procedures and are recovering, those who are in our community and doing so. But there are so many more joys and sorrows, names and milestones among us. I want to invite you to join me in recalling the names of persons, people, places, creatures, beings. Who are you holding in your heart as a source of concern or as a cause for celebration? Who is with you? What part of the country, what part of our world is with you now? I want to also offer that in our larger world, we offer our solidarity with folks in Texas and Florida fighting against laws that would eliminate folks who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning, and more, and persecute and prosecute the people who support them. It was a small measure of relief on Friday that the Texas courts put in place an injunction against what the governor had been putting into effect to call gender care child abuse. There is still a long way to go. We give thanks for all who are offering witness, testifying, and sharing their stories. And we extend our heart and care to those who are struggling directly and indirectly as a result of these efforts to discriminate and to eliminate people. In this moment, in this sharing of cares and concerns, in bringing forth to ourselves in this community of care, all that is within us and around us. May this moment encourage us toward ever more compassionate living, and that the lights we kindle here remind us that we are all kindred souls, that we are never alone in our human condition, and that love cares for us all. And we put that love into action. Let us pause for a moment of shared quiet. Amen. I want to enter into a moment to think more intentionally, to recognize the markers in our collective lives, because doing so can help sort them out. Not necessarily always resolve, but at least help make a little bit more sense, or reconnect, or find a path forward. This is the second anniversary of when our country was locked down because of the pandemic, and I'm curious, I want to invite you to think to yourselves, where were you Friday, March 13th, 2020? I'll tell you what I was doing. My spouse, Patrick, and I kind of saw what was coming. And we made, because we were expecting to have children, everybody home with us for who knows how long. So we made one last dash to see a movie in a theater. I think it was Little Women. Before we expected to stay home for this unexpected, ill-defined amount of time. And then at 3 p.m. or so that Friday, Governor Pritzker made his announcement. Stay home. Do not go to school. Do not go to work. Do not go out. And in the congregation where I was serving at the time in Geneva, the staff and the volunteers and I were kind of running around like, we'd like to go get the computers out so don't take them home, or books, or whatever we might need, because we wanted to comply and understood the gravity of what was happening. And because we didn't know when we would return, right? We didn't know. And then in less than 48 hours, we went from live church to everything on Zoom. Everything on Zoom. Sunday morning, Zoom. Every one of us has our own story of that beginning. Every one of us has our own account of what happened in the time since then. We're having this global experience, but individually, our stories are quite personal to us. Every one of us has been impacted with our home, or however we were, our living conditions, our health, our jobs, education, and family. We had this novel virus devastating so many lives, and often so quickly. Remarkable how many times somebody was sick and then gone. And how hard it was for those who were responding and caring for them. The overwhelm of just the crush of people and the crush of the care and disease itself, not knowing what would ease, what would take care of people, what could even begin to heal unless simply the body's own defenses kicked in. We have enough history with the family of this disease to prepare the vaccines really quickly, less than a year, remarkably so. And we will still be learning about what this is, its impact on us physically, as well as emotionally and economically and socially for a long time to come. Oh, that isolation. That isolation broke so many of us in so many ways. It was so hard. There was so much loss, so much heartache, and so much death. How many children, how many hundreds of thousands of children have lost both caregivers or all the caregivers in their lives in these last 2 years? You have 1 million deaths almost counted in this country. Surely that number is higher from what maybe didn't get documented or tracked. So much fear as well, so afraid of having to be afraid of each other and what was happening and not sure about information or who to trust. So much uprooted instantly. I want to offer this moment today to kind of acknowledge what the experience has been, reconnect with that in a way that says, this was real, and this really hurt. A year ago for this service, I offered a 1-year reflection. Last year at this time, I was recording everything by speaking into a black lens and hoping the congregation heard me eventually. Everything had been reduced to a camera to try to be in communication with a beloved congregation. This year, so much has moved forward. We are back in person and have been for a while. We are sorting out how to be together, given some people cannot yet get vaccinated, some are immunocompromised. How do we listen and care for each other? And some folks are remaining very cautious for really good reason. And so we try to be present in all the ways that we can, gathering in person and online. So I invite us to be present to this moment, however we are gathering here. And one of the pieces that we're learning is that there's people in the room, but then there's a whole other bunch of people online. The congregation itself is different. The congregation configuration itself is never going to be the same. And wow, have no fear. We have the power. The congregation itself is gathering in a way that it's never had to before, not really. And this is now the way that we're going forward as well. But I want to give a little action to this experience. 3 actions that helps form our experience and begin with sorrow and loss and reflect on what's been broken and then reflect on what continues. So we have with us candles and paper and stone. And we'll begin with candles. And I want to invite you. I'm going to offer a prayer and reflection, and while I'm doing that, I want to invite you to come forward and light a candle that represents any or all element of the experience of the past year. This is a way to let, especially those losses, those sorrows. These lights can represent the spirit, the ephemeral, what is so easily gone. What is so easily gone and evaporated, but let this light bring that back for a moment. And let the light represent that spirit that endures, even amidst sadness, the warmth of memory in our hearts, the love and action that is the nature of grief. Our final service in love can be sorrow. Love for those we have lost, and love for ourselves, what we have lost as well. For each other, for our beloveds by birth and by choice, for our human kin, losses for what is no longer there, and for what will never come, what has been lost and gone. So I want to invite you forward to come forward and light candles for sorrow and loss, that may be more visible and more known among us, a tangible light to reflect what is so sad and so dear. Please, you're welcome to come forward. of reflection. Holy One, as of this week, we have spent a full year apart and a year figuring out how and whether to be in person. We pause this morning to lift and name the jumble of feelings we hold. We grieve for those we have lost, whether COVID took them or whether the pandemic took away our chances to be together, to mourn their loss. We say their names now in our hearts, those beloved friends, family that we have lost these 2 years. We hold their memories in our hearts. We hold in our hearts all those who are recovering from COVID, the long haulers dealing with the lasting effects of this illness as well. We hold in love all those who have lost work, whose lives have been thoroughly, entirely turned upside down, whose schooling has been disrupted, who struggle to parent and care for anybody of any age while working from home. Those frontline workers who are at risk every day, and those who feel the ache of isolation and loneliness. We think of all those occasions, holidays, celebrations missed. And we think of the songs lost because we weren't here to sing in our sanctuary, even as we begin to renew those voices. Be with us, Holy One, as we grieve over the empty chairs at the table and on the screens. We offer a candle and say an extra prayer and trust with sure and certain hope that they have been held and that they are held, even as we had to let them go. Amen. Let us enter into our hymn, Comfort Me. You're welcome to rise in body or spirit as we share this hymn together.
Come
For this moment, I want to offer a time to remember what has been shaken. There's what has been lost, but here is what has been broken and jagged, what has been hurt, and where is that anger and the fear and the rage we've had in the course of this time. So many moments of trust betrayed, who to rely on, what to understand is true, how to conduct ourselves as a result. There's so many moments of disappointment in our fellow creatures, of taking advantage of one another, of denying that there's actually even a pandemic. There's been this betrayal, this brokenness of our social elements of our social contract, that we might actually care for each other, that we could be reasonable, rational, thoughtful, that to respect one another's personal space, even when that space grows from this big to this big. How much feels like it's kind of evaporated and wondering where it's going to come again. When or if will there be care again? So much has been broken. Relationships around work, relationships at home, feelings of security and health. And this virus that's never gonna bloody leave us. It's not ever going away, and I am not happy about it. Can I get an amen? Amen. Justify. So often these feelings are endured and kept to ourselves, kept quiet, often kept without voice. Sometimes we don't even admit how ticked off we are to ourselves. I'm reminded of cultures and faith traditions that tear clothes as an expression of grief and pain. And I'm going to give this moment an opportunity to rip something up. Yes, that paper. So I want to invite us in this moment to be not shy. Don't let that Midwest nice keep you holding back. Right? Because we're here and we're not going to take it. Damn it. Excuse me. Make a mess. Take it out. Spread it around. I'm going to ask for help cleaning up later, but go with me. I was trying to find a piece of music that might do that releasing of things. I was like, generationally, I'm not going to find one piece because I might go for the Beastie Boys, but I don't think the rest of you will. Oh, yeah. I know. But I did think of Fantine in Les Miserables as Fantine is singing her heart out about the brokenness of her story of love and what's been lost and the crushing weight of her life. And she sings, I had a dream my life would be so different from this hell I'm living, so different now than what it's been. I had a dream. And these 2 years were not it. That's right. My 10-year-old child's favorite word, I think, these days is satisfying. Isn't that satisfying? Let that jaggedness show. Do not cover it up and make like it's okay, because it is not, and we are not. Yes! Let that jaggedness be there and present with us. Take one of those pieces that has been broken and hold it. This is itself sacred work. It is not letting things be pretty or okay. It is not putting on the brave face. It is saying, to heck with this. I'm hurt and I am ticked off and I'm going to share my torn heart with the world. This is the work we get to do together. And this is what we get to make the mess together, to make it visible. Because our work as a congregation is not just for the lovely times and for the loving times and when we get along, it is in all the times, including now. Thank you for sharing a little bit of your torn heart with this moment as well. I invite you into reflection. What has come up for you in this moment? We're not going to take care of all the feelings right now, but we need to name that that's present and not stopping and not just going away because time is passing. One of my favorite images of grief, and I think this is true for a lot of the big feelings, is not that if you have the image of a grief in a jar, is not that the ball of grief that's in the jar gets smaller over time. The ball of grief doesn't change necessarily, but the jar can get larger. The anger doesn't have to leave right away, but in being here together in this moment, our capacity increases. And in that spirit, let us enter into our reflective hymn, Winds Be Still. In the wake of the horrors of World War II, Theologian Paul Tillich described his experience of discovering strength in life that emerged despite the fire of trials and tribulations. He said, "There is something unmovable and unshakable which becomes manifest in the crumbling of the world. On the boundaries of the finite, the infinite becomes visible. This is why the prophets were able to face the shaking of the foundations. It is the only way to look at the shaking without recoiling from it. In other words, when everything is tumbling down, it is a good time to look around and see what doesn't." From my colleague, Galen Gungerich, the strength that rises from the source of life has so many names. The Hebrew prophets understandably called it God. Any power that can withstand the shaking of the foundations is surely divine, with a little d. But the New Testament, the Christian scriptures, is more specific about the nature of the strength that endures. In a passage from the letter to the Corinthians, Paul explains that almost everything will pass away except for three things: faith, hope, and love. And that these will always hold us steady when trouble comes, that faith lifts us up, that hope keeps us going, and love holds us together. You know, in those first months of this pandemic, I did not try to make meaning. Didn't make sense of anything because nothing made sense. I wasn't going to do that to myself. I certainly wasn't going to do that to the congregation. Simply naming what was happening, recognizing feelings, describing what was going on, trying to convey, here's what we're doing now, and here's what we're going to have to do later, and here, and simply being present to each other. That was the work. And I have to say, I'm kind of still hesitant to make a whole lot of meaning 2 years later. But I can describe some of the learning, some of what's shown up. I was talking with a colleague who hadn't actually served in a congregation during this pandemic and trying to explain what I had been doing to kind of learn and pivot. And going back and kind of pulling out that summary, it reminded me that I think I've forgotten as much as I've already learned in the course of this. Oh yeah, wow, we did that too. Oh my gosh. And I think every one of us has a story of that too. What did you do? And how did you learn? And how did you adapt? And now here you are. How much has been discovered and adapted and adjusted? Part of what's been discovered is what's been truly important. No matter what was broken or sad or dying. What sustains us, though the foundations, they're a little bit wobbly still. We're still figuring them out again. But what has been revealed in all the sorrow and the struggle and the fear and the rage, those things, what is still with us? So this is where the rock comes in. You can grab your rock. If you don't hold on to a pew, that's a pretty sturdy thing too. What has remained true? Compassion, kindness, the preciousness of the spark of life. There is nothing like it. We can't make an iPad that sparks life, right? It's so true also that our work is complicated and layered and messy, even when we find something firm to hold on to. We keep returning to connections and foundations and hope, ultimate hope, even when the immediate faith in each other is a little disrupted. I want to ask for those who are in person, and if you're online, put it in the chat. What is still remaining true for you? What is still part of your foundation? Hope? Your iPad. Thank you. Yeah, there's that too. Our devices keep us connected. That's true. Nature. Mm-hmm. Kindness. Learning to love yourself. Music. Mm-hmm. Friends. Yeah. Family. Mm-hmm. More humor. Yeah. With whatever is coming to your mind and heart, whatever we are naming in this moment, I want to ask you to hold that. Use this stone as a way to physically bring it in and concentrate it and remember that that's always there. And connect with that foundation. That the act of doing so in a circle such as this, remembering together, makes it easier to carry with us, whatever the circumstance. And then how to be moved into bringing that into the world. We do so for our own sake, for the sake of people around us, for all of our children, and for those who follow. I want to offer our closing hymn from the Reverend Meg Barnhouse. We knew each other from serving in the South. So Meg was reading about the mystic Julian of Norwich. And she had this imagined conversation with Julian, who was a Christian mystic from 15th century England. And Meg was like, how can Julian know? Say to Julian, how do you know that all will be well when there's clearly so much heartache in the human experience? And Julian responds, nobody does not know about sorrow. But don't you know there's also tenderness and friendship and love that never ends? I mean, and Julian knew hard times. Like, she lived through the Black Plague, and that wiped out half of her community. And she even was on her deathbed, was given last rites, and she still lived and had a vision, a religious vision so powerful that it helped her remember, helped her understand that what is always true, and led her to write the first book that was the first known book written by a woman in English language, Women's History Month, right here too. Julian of Norwich. So we close with a song that acknowledges the struggle and also the good stuff that is true. And you're welcome to rise and body your spirit for this one. You'll pick up the refrain fairly easily. All will be well, and all will be well, by Meg Barnhouse.
I said, Julian, you are holy, you are holding my hand, and Julian, you are holy, you are holding my hand. She said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. I said, Julian, do you not know about sorrow? And Julian, do you not know about pain? And I said, Julian, do you not know about hunger? And Julian, do you not know about shame? But she said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. I said, Julian, do you not know about loneliness? And Julian, do you not know about disease? And I said, Julian, do you not know about cruelty? I said, Julian, it's too much, it brought me to my knees. But she said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things brought me to my knees, where I heard all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. I said, Julian, you are holy, you are holding my hand, and Julian, you are holy, you are holding my hand. She said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. And she said, baby girl, do you not know about tenderness? She said, baby girl, do you not know about friends? And she said, baby girl, do you not know about the spirit? She said, baby girl, do you not know it's only love that never ends? And so all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. And so all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. May we go forth today with a trust in the tenderness that so often arrives to hold us in our pain, with a faith in the love that never ends and never lets us go, and with a confidence in the courage that arises from within, but often not of our own doing, remembering and believing that all will be well, and all will be well, and all manner of things will be well. Our worship is ended. Let our service begin.